several of the young Seahawks were key in getting the first win in 3 years over the 49ers. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. We are still in that 48-hour period after the win. It is coming to a close, but before we get out of it, let's talk about the young players on the Seahawks. How are they performing? What are they doing? How's the immediate future look? Are we building a good foundation of young talent? Let's take a look at all the players on this team that are still on rookie deals and just get a feel for the contributions we're getting from these guys and what it says about the future. Before we get into this, I hope you like this video. If you do, please click the thumbs up button down below. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Okay, so we're going to start with running back like we always do, and I think we know what to say about running back this week, right? Walker, I'm not saying he played a perfect game or anything like that. In fact, I can remember one very specific play where Walker tried to do too much, and instead of taking the hole he had in front of him, tried to be Superman, and it backfired. So I'm not saying Walker played a perfect game, but he played a very good game, and he brings it pretty much every week. It's just really hard to do anything behind this offensive line. So the production is what it is, and you could say the same to a more extreme extent with Charbonnet. I mean, I can't really defend 6 touches, 5 yards. Like, that is a really bad game no matter how you slice it, but at least Walker has a chance when the run blocking isn't there. Charbonnet does not have a chance. So the big concern here, I mean, you look at these numbers, and the thing that stands out to me is that we have 7 games left. We're 10 games in. There is a realistic possibility that Ken Walker could get to the end of the season without getting injured or missing games and still not get over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and is probably not going to get over 1,000 yards rushing. That is criminal with how talented he is. And, you know, I am a big fan of not overextending myself to try to correct a previous mistake. I'm not a big fan of reacting so much to something that you overreact, but this needs to never happen again. These rushing stats for this team, with the running back talent they have, you need to do whatever it takes this offseason to make sure this never happens again, because this is such a waste. And that goes for Charbonnet as well, who I know people are generally down on right now, and I get it. He's not a great player, but he can play. He's a good player. You put him in decent situations, workable situations, he's going to be good. And Walker could be elite, but we're stuck wondering if he's going to even get to 1,000 yards on the season because of this. All right, wide receivers, you got JSN, who was the belle of the ball, PFF grade, way up. 10 catches, even had a rush for 8 yards, over 100 yards from scrimmage. He's pretty clearly going to get to 1,000 yards on the season, I think. Even if this burst of production doesn't necessarily keep up, then he's still probably going to get there. And if it does keep up, he could get to 1,200 or 1,300. And think about what he was on pace to do not that long ago. It was very kind of forgettable whatever season, and then boom. He might even get to 100 catches if this keeps up. It seems like the rapport between him and Geno may have been found, and we might start seeing dividends going forward. But really good game for him. He's all of a sudden up there with the better receivers in the league in PFF grade. Nothing from Derek Young this week. Jake Bobo played a little bit. His PFF grade went down, and he didn't contribute anything, so we continue to be basically deprived of Bobo this year because he's not doing anything. It doesn't even really seem like he's doing much run blocking, so the line is very thin for somebody like Jake Bobo. So, like, at this point, I'm kind of expecting him to not even be on the team next year because he doesn't get open. He doesn't really seem to block all that well anymore. He's probably better at blocking than a guy like Lockett, but it doesn't seem like he's doing anything to move the needle. And like you're not doing as much on special teams. It's tough. But at least we got to find out now. Now we know what Jake Bobo is. He's a number 4 receiver at best. And AJ Barner, we throw him in here as well. He had 2 catches. He did have, I believe, a drop. I think he also had the blown block on the 4th and inches stop in the 4th quarter. I think it was AJ Barner's fault as to why that run was stopped. So not his best game. His PFF grade was terrible, and his grade overall is down to 61. I still like what I see, but he's probably just not ready to be every snap guy. He's probably at least a year away from being able to do that. So Noah Fant, get back. We have a need for you. Maybe it's not as big a need as it was before, but we need another capable tight end. All right, offensive line, Charles Cross. It was really not one of his better days. He gave up 4 pressures. PFF grade was mediocre. Not that it's affected his overall scores this year. He's still up very high here. 83.5 overall, 81.1. He has given up a lot of pressures. Like he's on pace to give up, what, over 50 pressures this season. But I think circumstance makes it almost impossible to not eventually allow pressures on the Seahawks team right now. It was only very recently that Geno Smith stopped leading the league in passing attempts, and that the defense started playing well enough for this team to play from ahead some of the time. So when you're a tackle and your team's constantly behind and constantly throwing the ball, it's just tough to not allow pressure at some point. But I think we are getting some very good play from him overall, but this game was not so great. Forsyth didn't play. Haynes didn't play. Olu Oluwatimi, though, did play. Allowed 1 pressure. Run block grade was very good. Now, obviously, that run block grade is either not reflective of reality or it didn't help us because we still couldn't run the ball, but PFF's trying to take everything in isolation, so take it as you will. PFF grade overall, almost an 80 now. And remember, that's being diluted by a few snaps that he's played this year where he was basically like a tight end or H-back or fullback. So really, really good stuff from Olu Oluwatimi. Really, really promising stuff there. Anthony Bradford picked up a penalty, allowed 2 pressures. His grade actually fell a little bit. It's now flat 50. Honestly, it was one of the more inoffensive Anthony Bradford games, though, which that tells you how offensive he's been, right? Like, this guy has a penalty, has 2 pressures allowed as a right guard, and I think one of them is a sack, and his atrocious PFF grades go down. And I'm still kind of like, okay, it's fine. It's not fine. But, yeah, that's Bradford. Abe Lucas. I mean, the PFF would tell you he played a really good game, and his presence made a big difference out there. No penalties, 2 pressures allowed. Run block grade's really good. Hey, we need a unexpected bit of good news right now in Seattleville. And Abe Lucas just getting back on the mountain and not falling off for the rest of the season, that would surprise a lot of people. And it would make a lot of people really happy. And Mike Jarrell, he gives up a sack, a pressure. His grades still remain really bad. They got a little bit better this week, I guess, but he's just not there yet. He's just not there yet, and he continues to be a problem. Moving on to the defensive line now, very little to say. Byron Murphy, 2 tackles, and if you believe PFF did not play very well. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, of course. I'm not saying that, PFF said he was bad, so therefore he was bad. I would say I didn't notice him that much. I didn't notice him do anything all that interesting in this game or all that notable. I think there was like one play where he got a tackle at the line of scrimmage early, and then after that he felt a little bit anonymous. But when you look at the way the run defense has improved over the past 2 weeks and the way they were at least passable in this game, remember a lot of the running that they did in this game was the Purdy scrambles, and that's a little bit of a different story, but I'm not down on the job that Murphy did. So he's not really playing in his natural position right now, so I'm gonna be a little bit I'm gonna ease up on him a little bit. But I will say we are getting a relatively anonymous rookie season from him so far overall, it feels like. Linebacker, Tyrese Knight. Okay, now we're cooking a little bit here. We had 10 tackles to get him up to 33 on the season. Remember, he did play a little bit before when Baker got hurt and was still the starter. 65.5 PFF grade now, which is quite the improvement over where it was. And that is propelled by a genuinely strong grade from this Niners game. Drake Thomas played a little bit as well at the linebacker spot. Didn't really do anything. PFF grade actually fell a little bit to 47.3. So, I mean, it's not a meaningful sample size really, but that's you're doing something wrong according to PFF at that point. Edge rushers, both were just kind of, they were just there. Mafe had a couple tackles, and Derek Hall had a sack where Purdy fell down, and he had a few tackles too. Both their PFF grades remain about stagnant, pretty good, solid, workable, not superstar stuff though. And I mean, after a really, really good start for both these guys earlier this season, neither guy looks like they're going to, at least in terms of the numbers, take the next step in terms of superstardom. Like, there was a point in time where it looked like one of these two guys might be like a 14, 15 sack guy this year, especially with Nwosu missing all this time, and it hasn't materialized. And maybe they'll both cap out at around 10, which would make this offseason pretty interesting because we have some decisions to make with Mafe, and we know we will have to make some decisions about Derek Hall. I think we certainly want to keep both, but can we? Cornerback, Woolen, he was certainly better than last week. 5 tackles, didn't miss any tackles to my knowledge. He did have what I thought was a pretty weak effort to tackle Jawan Jennings on that 3rd and 11, where he was part of the pile of Seahawks that got bullied to give up the extra 2 yards, which, I mean, that's bad. There's no way around it. But other than that one play, I can't say Woolen did anything really bad. I think the standard of success for Woolen is pretty high because he is such a liability in some areas that you need him to be pretty much perfect in coverage. So I'm a little bit discouraged by that, but I'm not making any big blanket statements yet. PFF grade did go up a little bit, but PFF doesn't really ever appreciate what Woolen does, so it's not like that's something we're using to really evaluate him. Devin Witherspoon, on the other hand, had a very nice game. Really good tackling, pretty good in coverage. 8 tackles in this game. 3 passes defensed, doubling his season total. Making plays on the ball. 73 PFF grade. So, pretty impressive. He's making a bounce back after that sophomore slump bit him. Let's see if he can keep it up. And the only other notable young guys left would be safeties. We got Kobe Bryant, who I thought played a good game, picked up 5 tackles, and PFF grade went up. It's holding strong. It seems like we found the thing that he can do. And finally, Jarek Reed, who had a rough day on special teams. He missed a tackle, and his PFF grade on special teams fell to 49.3. Did get to play a little bit on defense, didn't really do anything. And that's what we're looking at right now. So that's the young crew. You got Kobe Bryant, you got Devin Witherspoon, maybe you've got the edges, you got Tyrese Knight, you've got JSN, you've got, to a certain extent, Walker. So there's plenty to get up for, right? There's plenty to get excited about and happy about. Feels like we need a little bit more of a punch. Like, we need some of these guys who look like stars to start showing they could be a superstar. We need some of these guys who look like they're going to be good players to turn into stars. A little bit more, but we got a lot of opportunities here because this list is so long. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming later. That is the Youth Watch Tuesday.